All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this month's pitch workshop. So every month at the Startup Club, we do this pitch workshop where we bring in a founder and we have them pitch their product or service to Amiya, who's our investor panelist, and we'll basically have a discussion based on that. So the rest of you guys will be like spectating this event. So with that said, like Amiya, I'll let you set the context and then you can get started.
Sure. Thanks, Raghav. Hi, everyone. So let me just first introduce myself. I have varied experience across corporate and startups. I've been a consultant, been a product manager with companies like Cisco and Amazon, built products for them, started my own firm, then moved on to VC. So right now I'm associated with a couple of firms. First is a micro VC firm called Ayurtha Capital and another firm called Jubilant Ventures, where we support startups in terms of enabling them, asking the right questions, and preparing them to be funding ready, and eventually help to scale their business. And if everything works out, then we also help them connect to the investors and get the funding done and everything else. So that's about me. Now, in terms of this particular call, Rishi, I would encourage you to keep the conversation to about, or your pitch to about 10, 15 minutes. So we can spend most of the time discussing about the product and the potential ups and downs of it. And I think that's about it. Over to you.
Thank you, Amiya. Hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself. I am Rishi. I have a decade of experience in AI and did my master's from Georgia Tech Atlanta. And I have worked for MNCs as well as startups, like startups who were just starting out and that in their idea phase and help them build their MVPs and help them scale. And yeah, this is Meet Minutes is my latest venture. It is my first product company that I'm working on. And yeah, uh, so I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible?
It is.
Yeah. So imagine that you were not able to join this meeting or any meeting as such, and you wanted someone or something in this matter to join your meetings. Meet Minutes is that. Meet Minutes is your AI clone for your meetings. We will unlock the future of meetings with Meet Minutes. It was for pre-meeting productivity, during meeting productivity, as well as post-meeting productivity. So what are we solving? We're solving these four components of meetings. It's a huge problem for businesses. Pre-meeting prep. So when salespeople or uh, any person is having a meeting with anyone, any new person, how they would generally do is they would generally research the prospect manually. And it's a whole cumbersome process. Like really good salespeople, they want to have the detailed research about the people that they are meeting so that they will be able to pitch better. So we are solving the pre-meeting prep problem. During meeting prep, during meeting, uh, people tend to scribble notes by hand, which is prone to errors, definitely, which also breaks the flow of the conversation. Imagine we are having a conversation, very detailed and deep conversation, and we are pretty involved. And someone says, "Hey, give me a minute. Can you repeat that? I want to write that down." It's pretty disturbing it breaks the flow of the conversation. And post-meeting analysis is where salespeople, managers, supervisors, they need to review the recordings of themselves or of their team members, which is time consuming. If it is call support, they review the recordings of the call support people uh, out of thousands of call support calls. They sample 1 or 2% and then they give a scoring. Or even salespeople, they try to look at the sentiment analysis of the salespeople of their team members and see how they could have done better. And we are also solving the problem of busy calendars. There are several people that I know of, me included, who have double booked calendars almost 80% of the time. And most of the time, they miss out on opportunities because they were not able to attend that calendar meeting. So, looking at the macro picture of the problem, we are looking at an average IT professional attending 62 meetings per month, each of which will be on an average 1 hour long or a bit more than that. Managers spend 35% of their time, and upper managers or CXOs, they spend more than 50% of their time in meetings. And there have been certain surveys that have revealed that uh, it takes more than 30 minutes for if you are recording a meeting and then reviewing it maybe on 1.5x or 2x and then manually scribbling notes of the meeting. It takes more than 30 minutes to 1 hour. And it is a well-known fact. In fact, APA also supports that human brain is not designed for heavy-duty multitasking. So this is the macro picture of the problem. Now, let's look at the solution. The solution is Meet Minutes. It is it gives you automated prep materials. It gives you accurate meeting summaries after the meeting. It gives you real-time transcription, and also it gives you AI clones. Each of these four solutions from Meet Minutes or features from Meet Minutes are solving the four problems that we saw in the first slide. I'll help you understand what I mean by prep material. Now imagine I am having a prospect meeting with Amiya Srivatsava, and I want to understand what kind of a person Amiya is and how do I approach conversations with Amiya. What I can do is I can go into Meet Minutes. I can go into my upcoming meetings and look at the pre-meeting brief that I have for that particular meeting. So in this case, this is it. I hope it is okay, Amiya, if I'm showing these to the audience. So in this case, it's all about personality traits. We show disc profile. We show Mayer-Briggs we show a personality type on the Mayer-Briggs personality test, and we give suggestions on how to approach conversations with a particular prospect. So in this case, Amiya is a visionary and a strategic leader. And as per disc profile, he is dominant and influential. And if I want to approach conversations with Amiya, I need to be direct and goal oriented. I need to show passion and lead with data. So considering this in mind, I have created this pitch deck for Amiya. And this is the accurate meeting summary, the kind of accurate meeting summary that you are able to get after every meeting, after every discussion. So it is in the format of 4 quadrants, which is very famously used by Bill Gates. He says that every meeting can be summarized with 4 quadrants: questions that were asked during the meeting, important notes, tasks that were assigned to me, and tasks that are assigned to others. This is the kind of accurate summary that you get. And by the way, this accurate summary is uh, independent of language. Even if you are talking in Indian languages like Hindi, Odia, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, it will be able to support that. And there are other features as well, like real-time transcription, which is during the meeting, it can transcribe notes for you real time for people who want real-time transcription. And it can also give you an AI clone which can attend meetings when you are busy. Not even attend meetings, but also answer questions, ask questions, be involved in the discussions. Who is our target audience? We are looking at salespeople, startup CXOs, online consultants, and team managers. In terms of key features and roadmap, these are the key features that we have right now. We have deployed all of these key features: pre-meeting prep, multilingual support. We have support for 40 plus languages, including Indian languages. We have support for offline conversations where you can have an offline conversation, record it, and Meet Minutes will even telephonic conversations for that matter, in person or telephonic conversations. You can record them and Meetmates will be able to summarize it for you. We have integrations with your existing tools, any integration with CRM, task management tool, project management tool, or an Airtable. Any of these integrations we are able to do for you. We also focus on custom integrations as well. Apart from the integrations that we have out of the box, we also support custom integration for enterprises. In terms of virtual secretary, let's imagine that you have had a meeting, let's say 3 months before, and a prospect has come back after 3 months that, hey, let's catch up. But you cannot remember the key pain points of that prospect. You can chat across your meetings. You can chat with a virtual secretary within Meet Minutes, where it will be able to tell you, where you can ask questions like, hey, I'm meeting with ABC Corporation. Meeting with ABC from PQR Corporation. What were the pain points that were discussed in his previous meeting? It will be able to give all the list of the pain points that were discussed. We can even discuss with this virtual secretary that, yeah, this is how I did it. Can you tell me what to pitch next or how to make it better in my next meeting? We have a custom template as well for user-defined summary templates. We understand that templates are very limiting for the users. Even if we give four-quadrant summary, very famously used by Bill Gates, people will want different templates for different use cases. We have that functionality where users are able to define their own template from the settings, and the upcoming meetings will be coming in that particular template. We are GDPR and SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, so your data is very secure. And upcoming features, as for the upcoming features, we have in-call nudges. So we are so suggestions for better outcomes during the meeting that, hey, you are talking a lot, or you are going on a monologue, ask questions, or ask question about this, or ask question about that. These in-call nudges will help to make the meetings better for salespeople or for the whole target audience. And conversation intelligence in terms of identifying key topics, insights. What This is more of post-meeting insights. And the ultimate is the AI clone, where your AI avatar attends meetings in your place and it will be able to answer questions based on the previous interactions, even discuss, even like full-blown discussions. It will be able to do full-blown discussions in your voice with your avatar. And if this is not enough, we are also planning for other features like real-time translation. I can be talking in Japanese and you'll hear it in Hindi, and you can be talking in Hindi and I'll hear it in Japanese. We are also coming up with an Android app, and we are also working with Android XR, which will be enabling meetings on VR AR platforms or VR glasses. In terms of market opportunity, it's a TAM of 3.07 billion, with a CAGR of 25%. In terms of path to scale, this is the scaling path that we are taking. We have already started with free AI note taker with third-party integrations and Intel language support. With next financial year, 25-26, we are coming up with pre-meeting preps, paid note taker subscriptions, and AI clones. And we'll be targeting non-traditional industries after in the coming year, which is manufacturing, retail, real estate. And currently we are mostly focused on Indian market. We'll be capturing European and North American market and UAE market. Upcoming features also include clone as a service. Currently, we need to do cloning for you for an enterprise, but we are also coming up with a clone as a service feature within Meet Minutes, where you will be able to define your clone yourself. We are also working on training our own SLMs, small language models for edge devices like phones, and making ourselves better in terms of technology so that we'll be able to enlist ourselves in the AR/VR marketplace. I feel that meeting AGI is coming soon. So meeting AGI is also not a huge, not a far-fetched feature that we are planning for. And integration with BCI integration with BCI, which is brain-computer interface like Neuralink, that is also we are preparing ourselves to be poised with in 27-28. In terms of business model, this is the business model that we are looking at. Customers, some of which are already are some of which these segments are already our customers, and some of which are we are planning to onboard, like tech companies, real estate agencies, legal consultants, and healthcare providers. We are also planning for partnerships and sales channels with Azure, Zoom Marketplace. We are in talks with partnering with IITs and CX firms, with dialer softwares, affiliate marketers, sales agencies. And these are the revenue models, different revenue models that we have right now. Lifetime deals and per hour pricing, and clone as a service is coming in the future. In terms of competitive advantage, this is where Meet Minutes falls in terms of ability to customize versus cost, ability to implement state-of-the-art features versus deployment time, AI expertise versus ripeness of the AI market, and ease of use versus the number of features. On the top line, Meet Minutes falls in, this is the sweet spot. Meet Minutes falls in the sweet spot of low cost but high ability to customize. In here as well, it also comes in the sweet spot of ability to implement SOTA features with a high capability with a very low deployment time. Here as well, Meet Minutes comes in the sweet spot in both of these as well. Current traction, we have 1,800 plus users onboarded, and we have a revenue of 22 lakh rupees in 24-25, driven by enterprise implementations and lifetime deals. We have 16 businesses onboarded total, and already in talks with 4 more businesses with a total contract value, total annual contract value of 15 lakh rupees, most of which are planning to deploy this within this financial year. And we are already in talks with Zoho authorized partners and other CRM tool integrations for better traction. And we already have a strong market validation. We have a projected revenue of 10 CR by 28-29, and customer segments. These are the business projections for customer segments. And yeah, this is the leadership team currently. I am the founder with a decade of experience in AI, master's in Georgia Tech Atlanta. I have done digital transformation for various companies, MNCs, startups, and with me is my co-founder, which is Yogesh Raheja. He has 23 plus years of diverse experience in several sectors, and even he has helped so many companies in their digital transformation journeys from 0 to 1 and automation. He is my batchmate from Georgia Tech Atlanta, and we started this company together. We have other people like CTO. So every team member is pretty experienced in their own field. CTO, head of AI, product manager, everyone is pretty experienced in their own field. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rishi. Okay, so first question, how did you generate the profile view for me? What did you do?
So I scrape your LinkedIn.
Okay. And basis that you got this particular piece of information.
Yeah. Scrape your
Okay.
LinkedIn, everything from your LinkedIn, like all the posts, all the comments, all the everything. So we do this for every prospect that we are meeting. We scrape their posts, their comments, how frequently they post, how frequently they engage with other posts. We look at the recommendations that were given to you, the kind of recommendations that you give to people, the volunteering experience, everything, like every bit of your LinkedIn.
Understood. Okay. So in terms of creating this pre-meeting analysis as such, what are the different touch points that you have? LinkedIn is one. What else?
So currently we have LinkedIn. We are planning to have other social media platforms as well. But it will be coming soon in the next financial year. Other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, uh, or YouTube, the kind of videos that you consume on YouTube.
Hmm. Okay, fair enough. So some of the questions that I have now, the competitors that you have mentioned,
Mm.
in terms of your positioning with respect to what you are doing, right? If you just go back to the problem statement, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the classification that you have during meeting, taking notes,
Mhm.
the post-meeting analysis in terms of the notes being taken down and you being able to do a Q&A to that, right?
Mhm.
Most of your competitors from Otter to Firefly to everybody, they do that
Mm.
already, right?
Yes.
Um, in terms of your busy calendar, that's something that I didn't understand how you do it. What do you do exactly?
So currently, what we can do right now is you can send your AI clone or meet minutes to meetings which you are not able to attend, or even your calendar meetings you are not able to attend. You can simply send it and it will be taking notes. It is not an active participant now. It will be just there listening to the whole conversation and then giving you the summary in terms of busy calendar. But in terms of the future scope, we have a future scope of not it being just a passive participant, but an active participant in the meeting, uh, based on your profile or based on how you talk in trained on your previous meetings.
Okay. So essentially, if I understand this correctly, what you're looking at is not a proactive approach to solve the double booking, but a reactive approach to be able to attend the double bookings.
Correct.
Okay, that's an interesting shift. Um, but help me understand this. Now, with respect to the clone piece, let's just say we are having this conversation and instead of you,
Mhm.
it was your clone, and I see that you have already added your clone to it, right?
Yeah.
So if that clone was attending this particular meeting,
Mhm.
would we be able to have this kind of conversation?
In the future, yes, we will be able to have these kind of conversations where you are asking questions to Rishi or to Rishi's clones that uh, any facts that it already knows, it will be able to answer. In fact, it is already able to answer a lot of questions related to the meetings that I have already had
Hmm. So
through post-meeting analysis.
understood. See, what I'm trying to figure out is the effectiveness of this particular piece, right? Because if I'm looking at the overall problem statement that you have mentioned, and I see that
Hmm.
there are potentially more things that you're doing, but you have not highlighted them as a problem in the first
Hmm.
place.
Hmm.
Um, two concerns that could potentially arise, especially say if a first meeting is there, then most of the agents that we are talking about, it's essentially an agent that you've created, right? So
Yes.
most of the agents, they are very data driven. Now,
Hmm.
in terms of having a very subjective conversation, like how do you think about this? How do you feel about that? Right? The originality in terms of what you think will only come from the data that is fed to it. Now,
Correct.
either that particular agent needs to be able to access a bunch of data sets around that particular subject prior to that particular conversation.
Hmm.
And even then, it might not be actually your thought. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
Rishi could answer the question saying that I don't think that this is how 100% of the scope is going to be. But the AI agent could potentially say, I see 10%. Be more specific, be more definitive, conclusive,
Yeah.
right? So in terms of representing someone as a human being, because human beings are very subjective in nature in terms of their thinking capability, criticality, in terms
Hmm.
of moderating their responses and things like that, right? So a lot of times like you have mentioned, passion, right?
Yeah.
So passion needs to come out more than data a lot of
Correct.
times,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know how you are going to do it, your 28, 29 picture in terms of meeting AGI and everything else. Sure, I mean, I'm not going to discard that particular possibility. Everything is possible in this current day and world.
Yeah.
But that's where the complexity will be, right? The other factor is that if you're looking at internal meetings, at the end of the day, why have I hired someone?
Mm.
Okay. If my clone, or if any clone, if any agent can do the sales task, get into the first meeting, let's just take I heard the word real estate. Let's just take a real estate example, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I feed the real estate data past 10 years and, and train the model on that,
Mm-hmm.
now I can spin up any number of agents. I don't actually need a salesperson,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So even if, let's just say that Rishi is there, a salesperson handling real estate sales calls and whatnot, then the question that becomes all the conversation that is happening at the end of the day, Rishi still has to go back and be aware of that particular conversation, not just in terms of data points, but the flow of the conversation. What I
Mm-hmm.
don't see, and maybe you have done it, I think you spoke about sentiment analysis and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you have done something in terms of making the actual person aware of
Mm.
how things are flowing, not just in terms of what,
True.
right?
Yes.
So, but all of these things need to come out in your conversation, in your pitch.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And your problem statement itself, if you're comparing yourself against 4 different parameters, then maybe it would be a better idea to relate your problem statement to those parameters. Something that someone is already doing cannot become a differentiator. It becomes an
Mm.
add-on that you are doing because everybody else is doing it as well. And there is value to it for sure.
Got it.
But it's
Got
no
it.
longer a problem because no longer a exclusive problem,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
There are existing solutions to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you are doing the same thing. But there some of the pieces like pre-meeting prep, AI agent in terms
Mm.
of attending your clone is what you're calling it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, these are not some of those things that others do.
Mm.
So you could potentially go ahead and focus on these and then add that existing solutions are already a part of this particular solution that you're presenting.
Got it. Got it.
Now,
Got
the
it.
differentiator is clear. Now, your narrative and pitch is going to be about how to approach someone, what kind of person the other person is that you are trying to talk to.
Mm.
If you're not in a meeting, how do I train someone to become aware of first, get into the meeting, second, become aware of this particular person, who he is, what is he, how this conversation flew, or what was the entire conversation about, what are the action items, like all the templates and everything that you spoke about, right? Things to do and whatnot. So that way you could focus on that particular aspect more, which could attract people a lot more than the existing solution, because it's very easy for this solution to get diverted into, but this is already getting done.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't want
Yeah.
that. You
Mm.
want the value that you are bringing to the table. The most of the conversation, 70, 80% of the conversation should be about the value that you are bringing, the new value that you are bringing to the table, not the existing,
Mm.
right? So how you frame it, how you position it, that's very, very critical in addition to what you are doing,
Mm.
right? Any thoughts on that?
No, definitely, definitely. That's a really, really nice suggestion.
Okay.
And I have actually experienced this a lot whenever I'm pitching to investors that, yeah, this is already people are doing. What are you doing more? And then I'll have to like focus more on, yeah, this is what we are doing more. This is everyone is doing, but these are the features that we are doing. We have the first mover advantage here.
Yes, yes. And that's how this conversation should flow. You don't want to dilute your value or dilute the time that you are spending,
Hmm.
yours or investors, in terms of what is already there. If
Hmm.
someone asks that, okay, what about during meeting? What about post meeting? You already have some note somewhere saying that already doing it, but that's the standard. Everybody's doing it. We are not differentiating ourselves basis that. And I'm not even calling that a problem because solutions exist for it. Right? Pricing could be a problem. Let's just say Firefly says that I'm going to charge $15 a month or $10 a month. Then pricing could be a different aspect to it. But that's not the crux of the conversation here. It's a lot
Yeah.
more than that, right? Okay.
True.
Second thing, in terms of the solution, let's go to the solution slide. So one, I would suggest reframe your problem statement slide itself. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Your differentiators need to come out very, very clearly. Most of this macro picture that you've mentioned, right? It's a filler, something that you can talk about. It doesn't need to go on a slide, or if it does go on a slide related to the problem statement, meaning, let's just go to a problem statement quickly. So pre-meeting prep, right? You could just, where you've written manually researching prospect, what percentage of the population faces problem manually researching prospects? So you could say that 70% of the people face problems while in manually researching prospects. And you can put your source there, right? If need be, but you can just leave it at that. So the problem statement slide is not just about the problem, but also the impact of the problem. So you could just specify it right there. You don't need an additional slide for that. And then the correlation to draw, because if I'm reading the next slide and then I'm trying to figure out, okay, which classification, which problem statement does it classify to? You don't want the mind to get diverted and distracted figuring out how to map the numbers to the problems. Consolidate everything in one place.
Got it.
Okay. So this slide is good. One of those things that the last piece, how to approach conversation. This is the good part. And in terms of the rest of it, it's a good to know. But one of those biggest challenges that I see, right? And I think it applies to everything that translates digital to real world. It's that a lot of times we tend to put narratives out there that doesn't necessarily reflect ourselves. Okay. You see what I mean? So essentially, you may have scraped a bunch of LinkedIn posts, but for me, but am I really that person?
Yeah.
It's a hypothesis that you are trying.
Yeah. That's actually a very interesting conversation. We actually had this conversation while we were designing this feature.
Right.
And it went on for almost 3 to 4 hours. We were having philosophical discussions about, hey, is the digital avatar of a person really that person? We were having that conversation, like, and then it went on to various phases that, okay, a person has various layers or various personalities depending on who they are interacting with. A person with a family is different. A person with friends can be different. A person in professional setup can be different. But then we arrived at this conclusion in the end that, okay, all of these people, we understand that a person can be different personalities with different people, but which is the best source if we are looking at we are looking at connecting with someone digitally or professionally, which is the best source of getting a personality type which a person portrays professionally. And we found that, okay, and we zeroed on LinkedIn, that, okay, LinkedIn is a platform where a person wants to portray, like a person is behaving as a personality that they want to portray as they want to portray. And if we want to connect with any person professionally, we want to be compliant with that personality and not the other personalities.
Right. So my point was not with respect to how we interact with the different kind of or the different personalities that are around us, contextually speaking, like family,
Mm-hmm.
friends, etc., etc. My point was that more often than not, um, the digital representation of a person, even professionally, may
Mm-hmm.
not be the person they are professionally speaking. Okay. For example, you'll find a lot of people, especially in the investor segment, talk about founder friendly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every investor out there wants to say we are founder friendly, right? But how do you define founder friendly? And at the end of the day, if there is an alternative motivation, which is essentially for a VC fund to grow, to be able to get returns, how founder
Mm-hmm.
friendly can you really be, right?
Yeah.
So this this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, that the picture that we portray might not
Mm-hmm.
be the actual reflection, because there are so many other variables in an actual conversation. So one of those things that I would, as a solution that you should try and do is, um, if the conversations go forward, how
Mm-hmm.
do you make sure that the original thing that you have written is, and what percentage of it is actually reflected in the actual conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And subsequently, if there are further conversations, then that would also give you data points to train your model, to
Yeah.
figure out that false positives, figure out the narratives that someone is putting out there. And none of this is easy, for
Yeah.
sure. But that's where the real value of this would be. As an initial
Mm-hmm.
conversation starter, sure. How to approach a conversation, that's what I'm going to draw out of this. Um, but the rest of it, I'm not probably going to index on it too much,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, when I say I'm talking about an individual, because I have to, when I'm entering a conversation, I prefer to look at the person for who they are in that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't want to create a bias and an opinion based on something that's written out there, which might not be, which couldn't be further away from who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just an opinion, but at the end of the day, the validation of what you're trying to do here, it's very, very important. Is the person really who they say they are,
Yeah. Yeah.
or what you have derived them to be? Okay,
Mm-hmm. So basically
that's something that.
train these how to approach conversations, and make it fluid. After every conversation, it should learn that okay, this is not how you should be approaching. It is actually
The
these
other
that you
way,
should be
so
approaching.
that yes, but at the same time, see, you're talking to me, you've given me this profile, but basis
Yeah.
this particular conversation, I might not be turning out as empathetic to you, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm more interested in poking holes. That's the
Yeah.
context of this conversation,
Yeah.
right? So the empathetic point might not be coming out in this particular conversation, but that's the agenda. That's why we are here. I'm here to poke holes,
Mm, mm, mm.
right? So I might be very critical about certain things.
Yeah.
So the contextual awareness, and over a prolonged period of time, am I really this person?
Mm,
So if
mm,
if someone else who's using your platform wants to talk to the same person, now you
mm,
have more context.
mm, mm, mm,
Now this derivation could become better.
mm,
That okay, there is a contextual angle to this. Okay, this person, based on what I have derived from social media presence, they might
mm,
turn out to be a more, let's just say, collaborative.
mm,
But based on the conversations that our users have had with this person in the past, they are not as collaborative. They are more seeking value and return on investment,
mm, 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 mm.
right? So that's what I'm trying to
Got it.
get to, that this
Mm,
angle needs to be built in. Otherwise, it becomes a superficial angle based on the digital presence. And it
mm,
would not give me enough insights to be able to shape and frame my conversations. It would still have to be on the fly.
mm.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get to. Okay,
Got it.
moving on to the next slide. The solution. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is your solution. This is fine. The templates and all. Okay, that's fine. Move on to the target audience. Okay,
Mhm.
sales teams, startup CXOs. How have you derived this?
So we looked at the target audience profiles, people who are using Meet Minutes. As in, we have 1,800 users, most of which are using it for free. We launched as a free AI note taker, and we have been also experimenting with pricing a lot, free minutes as well, a lot. But this is the kind of audience that we look, we checked that okay, these are the kind of people that you are using it for, that are using it for free, and some of them are also have also paid for it. Who are the people who have paid for it? We looked at that and
Okay.
derived these target audience.
So if I just don't look at this and I ask you, what does your ICP look like? How would you define that?
My ICP looks like a professional who has a lot of online meetings.
Okay. So in that particular case, see what I'm trying to what I'm trying to figure out in my head is that from a targeting perspective, because you seem to be going B2C, B2B, everything,
Mhm.
right? That is probably going to cost you a lot more in terms of what you are, especially in terms of your product, its roadmap, your tech and infra costs, resources, and everything else, right? Especially your sales and marketing once you get into it. What I'm trying to figure out is that what's the best mechanism for you in terms of a B2C or a B2B model, and where your potential adoption, engagement, and impact could be very, very high. So while a validation of the model in terms of are people using it, it's good to approach anybody, see where it sticks, and the eventual stickiness of it. But as a business, I would encourage you to Fireflies, Otter, they are doing exactly what you are doing.
Mhm.
But then in terms of their business model, in terms of their financials, where they stand, that analysis needs to be done. And it would not hurt for you to figure out whether a B2B route. Now, let's just say you said 16 businesses online, but
Mm.
out of these 16 businesses, how many people are actually using it? What's the scale of those businesses,
Mm.
right? These are kind of the deep dives or double clicks that you could potentially do, and then try and figure out that what is my ideal segment going to look like? If I land a Microsoft, if I land a Meta, if I land a Nvidia to use this, what sort of returns would I potentially have? So while
Mm.
the current model is okay, I think as a part of your even classification, identification, and segmentation of how you should approach a particular market, you should spend a little bit of time there. See where
Mm.
the value really is, because it could very well become a personal thing. You can keep both options open, but then what's your driver? Where are your revenues really coming from? Right? Because you said
Mm.
your 15 lakhs is already in PO pipeline, and they're
Mm.
all assuming through businesses, right? So
Yeah.
your retail users, how much are they paying? It could be
Mm.
a marketing strategy for you to create awareness, but
Mm.
that's what it could potentially end up being. Because how much of a consumption are retail users doing? Why aren't they? Because see, understand your differentiator. You're not just talking about meetings. You're talking about meeting prep. You're talking about clones.
Mm.
Where does this additional aspect put maximum value?
Mm. 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 Mm.
Right? If it was just meeting notes, retail makes a lot of sense. Sure. But then if there are additional aspects to it, entire companies could be looking at this, right? So that's one thing that I would encourage you to think about. And this target audience, maybe you could refine it a little bit more, because right now it seems too distributed. I can't figure out that you're looking at, from an execution point of view, you could certainly make something out of it, but it's not giving me that clarity right now. And I would want you to have more clarity in terms of who you are approaching, why are you approaching them, and what sort of return on investment that you're expecting out of them. When I say
Okay.
return on investment, I mean the product that you're delivering, who is it that you're onboarding, how much of a revenue that you could potentially be generating off of them, right? So if I just say 1,800 users, how many are retail users, right? Out of those retail users, how many of them are paying retail users? What's the percentage? How many of you are B2B? What's the percentage of B2B breakdown? Paying B2B, right? So you would see those numbers and then try and figure out that what's the right path.
Okay.
Okay, so spend some time there, see if you can make something out of that. Okay, next slide. This slide could potentially, okay, I'm assuming green is what you've already done. Yellow is something that's on the
Yes.
roadmap. Okay.
Yes.
It would also help to put a year or a quarter or something like that to it, especially if it's there on the roadmap. That would also give a sense to an investor that if I'm putting the money in, say, May of 2025, by when are you looking to achieve something? And those are the milestones basis which your funding discussions could move, right? So let's just say you're trying a 18-month runway and you're saying that till milestone 10, I'll be able to deliver within the next 18 months. But if you are only on milestone 8, then it's a different conversation altogether. But it's better to be honest, better to be transparent. Okay. So, and this could potentially come later as well, because for me, it's important to figure out, again, when I say later, your key values need to be highlighted upfront. Right now, it's very generic.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could potentially take it out at a later stage as well and focus more on the current business that you're doing. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Okay. How have you derived your SAM and SOM?
So I looked at researches on AI note takers. That's where I got the TAM. AI note taker market is at $3 billion. It's a $3 billion market.
Okay.
In terms of SAM and SOM, I looked at all the target audience that the kind of target audience that I am pitching, and also the target audience that the kind of customers that I am gonna pitch, and that's how I derived the SAM and SOM of
But then what
the
seems to be
industry.
missing to me when I'm looking at all of this is, right, the AI clone that you have developed. Because now think about this. How many people a 100-person team hire to do sales? Now, in 4 years down the line, if your AI clone is good enough, what are you
Yeah.
replacing? I don't see that accounted anywhere. So you're not
Yeah,
just the
that's
AI
true.
note taker. And
Yes,
that's where
that's true.
that clarity needs to be there. That's my
Yeah,
takeaway here. Clarity is
that's true.
missing,
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
right? So if you look at it from a proper value proposition of what you're bringing to the table, this is too small. And nowhere reflective of what you're actually doing. So sure, you could leverage AI note taker research, but that's not who you are. It's a
True,
part
true,
of you.
true.
So I would suggest maybe do a little bit of research and change this, because it's too small. Second thing, when you're looking at this particular market, I'm not sure you will have all the research data. So you have to go into that consulting McKinsey mode and then
Yeah.
try and figure out what's the overall, the number of, again, depending retail users or B2B, the number of B2B companies that are out there, number of salespeople that they have employed, business development people that they have employed, how many conversations are happening, what sort of expenditure that is happening in all of these conversations. And then from there, sort of go ahead and derive what sort of TAM, SAM, and SOM that you could potentially be looking at, right? So it's a very different outlook that I have in terms of what I'm hearing. versus what you have represented.
Mm.
Okay. So you'd probably need to
Yeah.
double click on this as well and then try and figure out if there is I'm 100% sure there's a different value to this. It's a much bigger market and a
Yes.
much more disruptive market than what you are representing.
Mm.
But then it's very underrepresented here.
Yeah. So I had this question here while I was creating this. So see, so the conundrum that I had was, should I be including the market which has not been tested yet? I mean, the AI clone is in the roadmap. We have a few beta implementations in place, but it's still in the roadmap. So should I be including that in the market opportunity if it's not there for the users or it's not validated yet?
Then let me ask you this question. How are you defining your TAM? On what
Hmm.
basis?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? So if you're
Hmm.
telling me that 1 year down the line, I'll have that,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
then that's the TAM.
True,
You're
true, true.
actively working on it, right? It's not a hypothetical
Yeah.
product. You're not figuring out that should I not?
Hmm. Hmm.
You're 100% convinced this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Then somewhere you have to accommodate for that.
Hmm.
You could say that, okay, you could put that in your TAM, but in your SAM, you could say that I'm not counting that because that's 1 year down the line. So your
Okay.
segment
Okay.
could be different right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
1 year down the line, your segment could look very, very different.
Hmm.
But then at the end of the day, everything that you are doing, your TAM needs to be reflective of that.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
True, true. So maybe put those numbers in TAM, like research and put those numbers in TAM, but only show the uh,
Not necessarily,
current.
because
Mhm.
again, I mean, it depends a lot in terms of how you understand TAM, SAM, and SOM and how you are defining them.
Hmm.
If I say that, okay, sure, TAM is so and so of agentic AI that you're developing and everything else across the globe. And
Hmm.
then I say, SAM, I'm only considering India and I'm not considering agentic.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in
Hmm.
SOM, I'm not considering a lot of the whole of India. I'm only considering, let's just say you're based out of Bengaluru, for example.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just only considering Bengaluru and the B2B companies that are existing in Bengaluru,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right? So it depends on how you understand them, how you define them. And that's why all of these things are not so much about numbers, but more about the clarity that you have in terms of how you are
Hmm.
defining your markets.
Hmm.
So again, the overarching point that's coming here is lack of clarity.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. You're doing a lot, but heavily underrepresenting them.
Hmm.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. Okay, this slide is fine. Okay. So when you talk about the business model, I'm assuming you're taking a leaf of the BMC and trying to represent things here. Uh, but maybe
Yeah.
break this down a little bit. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, the customers that you have written, you have already written who you're targeting. It's a
Hmm.
duplication.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Now, the partnership, sales channels, etc., these are all part of your GTM.
Hmm.
The actual money making aspect of it is your per user monthly lifetime deals, per hour pricing, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So when I'm looking at this particular slide, I see 3 slides which you've tried to merge into one. Right. Either just put a BMC
Yeah. Okay.
or simplify this, let your users and ICP definition go to a different slide, which you have already done, but for some
Hmm.
reason duplicated it. And I didn't see a GTM, if I remember correctly. The rest of your sales channels and everything else, that's going to be a part of your GTM.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So you should certainly segregate your GTM slide. Because
Sure.
at the end of the day, once you clearly identify where you are going, then your GTM is the
Hmm.
next most crucial thing.
Hmm.
Your top of the funnel in terms of how you are approaching it. That's what's going to define anything else before you get to the bottom of the funnel.
Got it.
Okay. So maybe just simplify the slide. And when you talking specifically about the revenue model piece,
Hmm.
I would suggest talk a bit more about this, once you clear up this particular space, then you need to be able to create specific narratives in terms of what kind of user, what kind of pricing strategy. So this is your revenue model / pricing strategy. Again, if you go with a complete mix of B2C, B2B, and everything else, this slide becomes even more complicated. And even for you to describe to anyone, they need to be very intuitive, and they should be willing to spend that kind of time, amount, and attention to be able to understand what you're doing. Not going to happen always, especially if you're just sending the slides, then you don't know who's going to look at it and what kind of attention they're going to pay to it. So make it crisp and clear. Right now, it's just a bunch of bullet points. Okay.
Yeah.
Next slide. Yeah, just move the GTM to a different slide altogether and make it more, again, crisp and clear.
Got it. Yes.
Competitive advantage. Okay. Cost, ability to customize, ability to implement. What is SOTA?
State of the art. So we know AI is coming up with a lot of new features and a lot of different capabilities.
Okay. Ease of use, AI expertise. So state of the art AI feature and AI expertise. What's the difference?
So AI expertise is the expertise of the team that we have in AI expertise in terms of
Do
the
you
team.
know that Otter, Firefly, they don't have AI expertise?
They do, but we are looking at the AI features. We are just generating that correlation, that the kind of AI features that Otter already has versus the AI expertise that they already
Do you know their roadmap?
know.
So again, one of those things that as founders, I see a lot of people do is underestimate what the competition is doing. You have absolutely no idea what's on anybody else's roadmap. Right? So just like your roadmap and your information, like this meeting, it's going to go online.
Yeah.
Right? You will be talking to investors, and those investors might have connections, and these conversations flow in meetings and events. It is very easy to, even if they don't have it, after this conversation, it goes on YouTube. Someone from Otter's development team is saying, okay, this sounds interesting. Let's look at Startup Club. Someone might even be part of the Startup Club. You don't know.
Yeah.
Now it's in their awareness. It doesn't, and these are not like mammoth teams. They are very lean teams.
Yep.
How long does it take for them to shift their strategy? 3 months. But
That's
you're
a
still
risk that I'm
talking.
willing to take. That's a risk I'm willing
No,
to take
I'm
because
100% okay with
yeah.
that. But my point is
Yeah.
that do not underestimate it. Right? So I'm happy with the rest of the points, but what I don't want to see any founder talk about is that we are the best. Because what's the benchmark? At the end of the day, until unless you have executed something and achieved something and actually outdone your competition, what makes you think you are the best? It's all hypothetical and theoretical. Until unless it becomes practical and real, no, you're not. First, execute. Make sure you have something to talk about. And then you talk about, okay. But even then, when I hear founders talk about, yeah, we are the best, it's very cringeworthy. Right? Because at some level, you have to have that kind of humility, have that assertion. Sure, we are very confident that we are going to do our best and be better. There's a huge difference between how you phrase something. Right? You confidence and overconfidence. There is a very thin line.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing that with respect to this competitive slide, what I would additionally want to see is that, or rather, customize, SOTA, or ease of use. They're very, very generic terms. For example, if I just go to Otter, what do I need to do? Create a profile, give Otter permission to my email access. What else do I have to do there? Right? So I don't know how you're defining ease of use.
So ease
It's
of
very
use, I'm
generic to me.
defining ease of use, I'm defining based on the feedbacks that I've received from customers who have come from customers or users who have come from our competitors like Avoma, Fireflies, and then they have started using Meet Minutes. We actually reached out to them and asked about, hi, where did you come to know about Meet Minutes from? What were you using before? And then they told us that, okay, this is what we were using, and we have found that Otter, most of them was Meet Minutes is has cracked that in terms of design piece, that it is very easy to use while maintaining the number of features that are required, that are absolutely required. So most of the users that we talk to, that's what they told us, and that's how we
So let's talk
generated this
specifics
ease of
again.
use, right?
I mean, this is still very generic. Let's talk specifics.
Mm,
Okay.
mm, mm.
One, what is the question that you ask your user to figure out this particular piece?
So first question was, did you use any AI note takers before? And they enlisted, okay, we have tried this. And then I asked them about in terms of in terms of uh, advantage of using Meet Minutes over the competitor. What is your experience, overall experience? Like, are you happy in terms of the overall experience and why? And that's when one of the key points that came out was ease of use. Uh, for
Okay,
the reason
what's
that
the
they
double
were
click on
happy.
that? What was so easy to use?
It was the overall platform that they, I mean, we,
Okay, so
uh,
let me rephrase that. See, when I'm talking about this, let's look at the entire flow of how the platform is going to operate, from onboarding
mm,
to setting up a meeting, or integration to setting up a meeting, to consuming, to research, right? Or Q&A piece that they have.
mhm,
Now, if I have to
mhm,
break this down, and this is one of those follow-up questions that you should be asking, that
mhm,
what was easy to use? Why do you say
mm,
easy to use, right?
mm,
Because see, when you're building a product and you come from that background, so I'm assuming you're already aware of all of these things.
mm,
But it's very, very important not to take what users have to say verbatim.
mm,
There is always, at least in my experience of building products and running companies, there is literally 99% of the times there is a double click.
mm, mm,
Very few people people like you and me, when we are asked to give inputs, we would say that this is what it was that's sort of stood out.
mm,
99% of the people are going to be very, very generic.
mm,
And even for us, if we are running short of time, and let's just say Rishi comes back to me and say, give me input of meeting minutes, I'd say, very nice, good to use, easy to use. I didn't find so many features. You have so many other additional features that are so good. But what does all of this mean? Right? So when you're building your product roadmap, or you're sort of building your sort of the feedback loop for your product, you need to understand what these things actually mean. Why people are saying what they are saying. It's not just what they are saying,
mm,
right? So I would say, at least from a competitive advantage point of view, right? Be specific. The things that you are actually, where you actually stand out, like your pre-meeting, like your
mm,
agent,
mm,
right? Those are your real competitive advantages.
mm. Yeah,
These are superficial.
I understood. I actually wanted to not focus a lot about features because what I've understood with talking with investors is they do not want to talk about features a lot. They want to look at the strategic advantages that a product has or a company has over the competitors.
100%.
Definitely, yeah,
But tell me this, pre-meeting, is that not a strategic advantage?
it is. Yeah.
Agent,
Mm,
AI clone,
mm,
is that not a strategic advantage?
mm, mm,
So again, it depends on how you are defining the word feature.
mm,
They are features, sure, but the value proposition that they unlock, those are massive differentiators. If consumed right, if built right. Let me just put that caveat there,
yeah.
right? So if no one else is doing it, and if you actually say that you have an early mover advantage doing these things, why are you not selling it in terms of competitive advantage?
Mm. Mm. True.
So I would encourage you to rephrase this, think deep about all of these competitors that you've listed, what you are doing, and again, very clearly identify the points where you are unlocking values that these guys haven't unlocked yet. Or even if they have unlocked it, you can figure out and say that we are either doing better, on par, or we are looking to build further on top of this and unlock even more.
Mm.
Right? So this is very generic to me right now. It needs to be very specific, because right now, unless and until I know all of these platforms, I don't know how to define customize. But your job here is to help me understand why you are better, not relying on my experience, relying on what you have to write, what you have to say. My
Mm.
experience, my biases, my perceptions will already be there. I'll again go back and do my own research and everything else.
Yeah.
But it's the clarity that you are bringing to the table that needs to stand out.
Mm. Mm.
How specific, and more often than not, founders tend to be very generic. We are doing this, we are doing that, this is where we are really good. But these are all superlative terms. What does good mean? Why do you think you are good? Tell me one thing you are really good at, and tell me how have you benchmarked it and proved it.
Mm.
Right?
Yep.
So a lot of good founders that I talk to, they're specific. They don't talk about superlatives. They don't talk about generic. They don't talk about fillers. They talk about specifics. One of those things could be that, let's just say, again, falling back to pre-meeting thing, right? Now I'm unlocking value for 73% of the population relating to the problem statement. Now they are well prepared to enter a particular meeting. Now that's a very clear differentiator to me that, okay, this is huge. Right? I'm hoping you get a general sense of what I'm talking about here.
Yes. 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 Understood. Understood.
Okay, great.
So
Moving on to
talk
the next
more
one.
about numbers. Talking more about numbers rather than
Not just
general.
numbers, specifics.
Yeah.
Specifics
Specifics.
don't have to be numbers.
Mm.
For example, how are you going to quantify and say that AI clone that you're talking about? You probably won't have any numbers on that.
Mm.
But if you just say that AI clone availability, unlocking so and so, right?
Mm.
These things, they need to be figured out. I'm just going on the fly.
Mm.
But then you could say that none of them have it. I have it.
Mm.
Right? And again, this is basis a very small conversation. All of these require a much more in-depth conversations to be able to identify clear and sort of get clarity in terms of what you want to represent, why you want to represent it, how you want to represent it, and then in the story and the narrative, where you want to represent it. So it's a much bigger conversation, but because we have a very limited time, so
Yeah.
I won't be able to get into a lot of depth of all of these things. But everything that we have spoken about, right?
Mm-hmm.
These might look like bullet points, but they are all literally 10-hour long conversations and discussions that need to happen for you to be able to clearly identify them and then document them. None
Mm.
of this is easy. I mean, sure, you could go back and say that, I'm going to write it there. But then if I have to go more into a discussion about why this, then I don't want you to falter and come back and say that, let me go back and figure this out. That should not happen.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right? So these are all very, very difficult topics. They require a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of effort. But this is just a very small conversation about it, not even touching 1% of what needs to be done.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Okay. Moving on to the next one quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. This really needs to go in terms of charts, graphs, and everything else. Too much to read.
This
The
business
traction.
predictions. Yeah. Yeah. The traction.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Current growth
That's
by
just.
segment.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
So that's why I just put it in. Put it both like numbers as well as this graph.
It's too distributed, I would say.
Mm.
What it doesn't tell me, it gives me a high-level view. For example, let's just look at standard SaaS. Okay. Now you're saying 2024, 25, I don't know. Is it 0?
It's a bit more than that. I can
Yeah. So
have
see,
a table here as well. Yeah.
when you're looking at a lot of coagulated graphs like these, right? It's very difficult to figure out where each point stands. Where are you targeting? Is enterprise, and what's the difference between enterprise and standard SaaS? Right? SaaS is SaaS. Who are you offering it to? SMBs, enterprises, retail users. But that's the segregation. Where does it really stand? And I see that standard SaaS, enterprise, LTD, in-app features, they're all like, what's the number there? But that's still the top of the funnel view. Now, if I have to ask you that, okay, let's just look at 23, 24, and 24, 25. Okay. Already nearly done with 24, 25.
Yeah.
Now, the number of users, your retention, paying customers, revenue generated. So the entire flow, there is no way for me to get a sense of it. But that's what's going to matter. So if you say that I've spent 2 years doing this, nearly.
Yes.
What do you have to show for it? 1800. Okay. So WhatsApp has, let's just say 5 years, 10 years, or 7 years back, WhatsApp had X million users, but were they generating any revenue? No. Right. So this is what you need to be able to represent when you're talking about projections. And it's not just projections, it's traction and projection because you're already live.
Yeah, got it. And I actually have those numbers in Excel. It's just that I was not able to prepare this, like, I was not able to give it a lot of time in terms of projecting it in a graph, or
Right.
I do have the numbers here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these, and if you don't, I mean, I'm not sure if you are comfortable sharing this in a public platform, but you should probably figure this out a bit more, because
Yes.
these representations are going to matter a lot, right?
Yes.
And I would suggest don't put it out there in public platform just yet.
Yeah.
But this representation needs to be changed. It's traction and your projection. So traction could be your 2 years, what you've done, and the projection could be the remaining years, or depends on how you want to represent it. But it's very important because at the end of the day, what you're doing, it's the market size is growing, the demand is growing, but at the same time, literally 10 people, 50 people, they are doing it, building AI agents. Not everybody is going to be successful because not everybody can have the clarity that is required to be doing it, or the expertise. Right? So many nuances. So it becomes very, very important for you to be able to showcase what you have achieved. Okay. So I would suggest rework this as well. Try and keep it. I don't know if I can move beyond crisp and clear. I think that's the theme of it for today.
Yeah.
Too much, not clear enough. Make it clear, make it concise. Okay. And stand out. Right now, it's very, very generic. Okay. Next slide quickly. Put some photos there. Why are you shy?
Okay. Yeah.
But the rest of it is fine. That's okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Investment opportunity. Okay. You've just written it something there, but I'm assuming you haven't gone into figuring out the actual investment yet.
We have. I just wanted to do not.
Okay,
I did
fair
not
enough.
just want to put that ask slide there, but yeah, we have.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, that's my overall input for today. The summary of it would pretty much be you're doing a lot. There is a lot of scope. But apart from, okay, let me rephrase. You're doing a lot, there is a lot of value, but it's not coming out. In From your first slide to your traction and projection slide, it's just not coming out.
Mm.
Not everybody is going to probe you. They're going to look at it and make decisions. So
Mm.
if your pitch deck can't get your foot in the door, you would probably end up, your funding funnel is going to look very skewed towards the top and not a lot towards the bottom. Okay. So there's a lot of work that needs to go behind making this ready in terms
Mm.
of how an investor is going to perceive it and then make decisions. Okay. I hope I was able to add some points and values there.
Definitely. A lot. A
You
lot.
got,
Not just some. A lot.
yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done right now, Rishi. You're doing good work, but
Mhm.
funding ready in terms of what you have and what comes off, there's a huge gap.
Mm.
And again, I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that a lot of these things, you're doing it because you can, not because you have clarity.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing
I mean, I'm
way
sorry,
to
but
put it. No, but
not to be overly critical, because you have the
yeah,
capability, you are doing it. But you
yeah,
have to be
yeah.
very clear about what you're doing, why you are doing it,
Mm.
who you are targeting, what kind of model are you building, how you're going to sell it to them, what price point are you
Mm.
going to sell it to them. I see a lot of jargons,
Mm.
but not a lot of clarity.
Yeah, true. That's true. That's actually true. Uh, just to add to what you said, that you are doing a lot, but there's not a lot of clarity. I actually was thinking is I actually was thinking how to do better. I was thinking this last month, since like during as a New Year resolution, I was just on 1st Jan, I was just sitting and thinking how to do better. And then this also came to my mind that yeah, this is like we are doing a lot. Like personally, I think, yeah, even I think that we are doing a lot, but yeah, that clarity needs to come. And definitely, I think a
See, I
lot of
mean,
work needs to be done in terms of clarity.
yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, most founders think of themselves as octopus, but you're not octopus. You're a human being, right? Your legs are already bearing your weight, and you're probably juggling something with your one hand. You just probably have one hand available to do something. It's not about
Mm.
the number of things that you can do, the number of features that you can build, the number of GTM channels that you could look at. It's about
Mm.
figuring out that one trick that can
Mm.
really blow you up. It's
Mm.
about the focus.
Mm.
You are not going to have the resources available to your disposal to be able to do 8 things. Focus on
Mm.
one. And sure, it could be counterintuitive, because a lot of times that you could have 4 different things that you could be working on and you chose to do one. But that one might not be your USP. And you have already
Mm.
spent 2 years behind it, right?
Mm.
It becomes
Yeah.
very difficult to leave that and go to item 4 that you thought
Yeah.
about 2 years ago. So it's a lot
Yeah.
of juggle. But then there is no other way to figure this out. Either you have
Mm.
to have a really solid intuition, or you have to have really solid clarity to say that these are the 4 items. Forget about these note takers. I'm just going to focus on agents.
Mm. True.
But it takes a lot of guts to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the sunk cost fallacy, it applies deeply. You have already spent so much. Now,
Mm.
why not make something out of it? Why should I just leave doing this? And this is very, very real, because one of the startups that I'm working with, it took them 3 weeks working with us, right? They started with the B2C.
Mhm.
Then we had some more discussions. They figured, okay, B2C is not the most optimum. We'll do B2B. They went to B2B. Then we had some more discussions. And by the end of week 2, they're like, B2B may, whatever we were thinking of doing, we are not going to do that. We are going to do something else, because that's our hero product.
Got it. Yeah.
So it's, and one of those things that the guy said was more in terms of the clarity and the speed with which we were able to arrive from going from B to C to B to B to doing what we actually want to do. And they have got some really good interests right now. It took me 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but if I were to do this, it would have probably taken me 2 years. So my point here is that it's the clarity at this stage, especially when you're pre-seed, you're seed, you're just building something up. You're never going to have enough of anything. So if you can't have a clear head, you will end up burning a lot of things at a lot of different places without realizing, only to come back later and think that "Ah, I should have done that." My aspiration is that nobody should be at that stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing, amazing feedback.
Thank you. I hope it was really
Really, really amazing feedback.
okay. Yeah, so that's about it from my
Because
side.
the problem that we have internally uh, is also that we have a lot of intuition. Like the AI note taker space, I entered the AI note taker space when there was only Fireflies and Otter. Fathom, Avoma, they were not in the picture. I entered the space in 2022 and started building on this. And after 2022, it blew up like crazy. Then we were discussing the core reason why I have these kind of intuitions is because I'm very deeply into the AI space. I know what's happening. I research a lot in terms of scientific journals and scientific papers, and not just me, but the whole almost 30% of the team. We
Sure.
are into a lot of scientific journals. We have these scientific journal discussions every week. That okay, this journal drop. It's not even there in the news yet, but we are already discussing and thinking about, hey, how about we do this? How about we're just throwing ideas, and then pre-meeting prep actually came from pre-meeting prep, even baby AGI, even meeting AGI, and all of these came way before they were already highlighted in the news or highlighted in on the platforms.
But think about this, right? I mean, 2022, first level thinking, second level thinking, second order thinking, right?
Yeah. Mm,
Now, the application of it, these are words,
mm,
very difficult to execute. But then, had you applied that, and for the past 2 years, had you been working on something which is more to your value proposition
mm,
and leveraged some of these integrations or partnered with them, where would you be?
mm,
Right? You don't need to compete. Competition is not always good,
yeah.
especially, and this is something that I teach in my GTM classes as well, that when you're looking at building a business, figuring out your first order thinking and second order thinking, figuring out your most optimum GTM channels, these are severely undervalued skill sets. You have to really, really think about all of these things before you even build something.
सामान पड़ा है अपने पास देखना यार चल I'll also help you.
Sorry, because you want to say something? Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean that's the bottom line to it, but there is a lot and that's why I think I came up, maybe I came out too strong to say that you're doing a lot of things because you can. You have that skill set, you have that research, you have that knowledge, but then that's also stretching you too thin. That's my perception of this conversation. You could
Yeah.
do a lot better if you were to focus more on some things.
Mm,
Okay,
definitely. Yeah.
that's about it. Thank you so much, Rishi, and thank you
Thank you.
everyone else for listening in. Raghav, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much for all of you for participating, especially for Rishi for explaining the product and things, and also for Amiya for offering the insights and clarity. I just want to close with a couple of updates. So we basically disabled the post applications in the Telegram channel. Now it's only a purely update channel. We're trying to create an exclusive community of people in the startup ecosystem. So you will see that our website is updated. If you go to thestartupclub.info, you'll see the updated interface, and you can join the community from there. Because we're trying to create like a more high quality conversation space, and also we're trying to like hone in on just helping the people have better access to better opportunities through and a lot less spam. So that's why we're trying to make it an exclusive community. And other than that, like if anybody's interested in participating in this and pitching for the monthly pitch workshop, please let me know. You can send me a DM on the Telegram and we can get connected. All right. Thanks everyone again. Bye.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank you
everyone.
so much,
Take care.
Raghav.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.